This is America's weirdest theme park. Unless you've been to theme parks across Europe, you've probably never seen anything like this. Enchanted Forest is located in Salem, Oregon, and it's exactly as the name describes. This is a heavily wooded park, lots of small, intimate pathways leading you from fairy tale to fairy tale. There's not too many rides here. You got one main roller coaster, there's a log flume, a dark ride, a couple little shows, but the main things you do here is just walking around and seeing all of the sights. The theming is extremely well done. It is so quirky and fun. So let's dive in here, talk about the ins and outs of Enchanted Forest. The park first opened its gates in 1971, so it's over 40 years old. It actually took 7 years to build, and that's because it was built by one person completely by hand. His name was Roger Toft. He did it throughout most of the 1960s, and to this day, the park is still run by his family. I know the Pacific Northwest isn't exactly known for its theme parks, but once you actually get out here, Enchanted Forest is pretty easy to access. It's right off of a major highway. It's got a small, low-key entrance, just this cute little, very European-feeling building, and it's also reasonably priced. Although that being said, prices have actually gone up $7 since I visited. Last summer, it was about $15 for teens and adults. Now it's $22, and that gives you access to walk around the park as much as you want. But if you want to do some of the rides, you have to get individual tickets for them. Each attraction will cost you between 3 and 5 tickets, and each ticket's $1. So to do the log ride and Ice Mountain bobsleds, that's 5 tickets each. 4 for the haunted house, 3 for the carousel, and you can bring your own food in if you want. So if you're bringing your family, compared to most theme parks, this is actually going to be a relatively inexpensive visit. Now, the way that the park is set up is a little bizarre. The whole thing is located on a hill, so if you're walking uphill, you're working your way to the back. If you're going downhill, you're headed towards the front. Most of the attractions are in the back of the park, but because of how wooded it is, you don't see anything until you get there. When you first enter, you see some signs pointing you towards the left to say start at the castle and you go from there. And the whole park is a very simple loop, so you literally just follow the pathway around and you'll eventually find some stuff. So as you're walking along this pathway, you'll encounter different animatronics, houses, buildings, slides, even a maze, but all of them are tied into different classic fairy tales. It's very quirky, but it's fun. I know at one point the park even caught the attention of Walt Disney Imagineering, and they went here to check it out because they were so impressed at everything. And don't worry, Enchanted Forest isn't stepping on Disney's toes here or anything. All of the fairy tales that they use are in the public domain, meaning every time they come to a character that Disney also uses, they've designed it in a way where they put their own spin on it. So you can see why this would be a great park for kids. Like I would say at its core, Enchanted Forest is more of a kid's park than an adult park. Nothing here is going to be too extreme for anyone. Now, once you kind of make it past these intricate pathways, you do find some small little themed areas here. There's Toftville Western Town, there's the old European village, and even those are extremely well done. The theming never stops here. Even when you're on these small pathways, the railings as you're walking along are going to be done up in a way that makes them look like tree branches. Like you talk about immersion, this place is incredible. The amount of detail that they put into everything is really insane. I mean, we're not talking like world-class animatronics here or anything, but everything that you will see here is so charming. Now, I wouldn't say that Enchanted Forest is a huge time commitment, especially if you're the type of person that likes doing rides. Again, there's not a lot here. We spent maybe 2 hours in the park. We could have stayed longer. I know one attraction I would have liked to have checked out that I didn't get to do was the Challenge of Mondor. This is an indoor trackless shooting dark ride. We spent so much time walking around. We had somewhere else to be that day, otherwise we would have stayed longer. But that looked like a fun little attraction. I did get to do the log flume. It's one of those weird rides because it does show up on RCDB as technically a roller coaster, but in no way does it feel like a roller coaster. It's definitely a log flume. I won't really go into Ice Mountain bobsleds. We have a whole review of that already up on the channel, so be sure to go check that out if you want to learn about that ride. And honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal that they don't have too many rides because, interestingly enough, I'd say the things that they do best aren't ride specific. Like typically when you think of seeing animatronics, they're incorporated into a ride, but here they're just out on the main pathways. Last thing I'll really touch on before we wrap things up, it didn't feel like there were a ton of food options in the park. We actually ate right before coming here, so I won't really make any comments about the food, but it definitely seemed fairly limited. But overall, this was easily the most surprising park that I visited in the Pacific Northwest. I didn't know a lot going in here. I had no idea just how themed it was, and so I was absolutely blown away. The park has so much personality, and they're really thinking about the guests, working in things that everyone will be able to enjoy. There's a comedy theater, there's a water show, a little haunted house. It's not really scary, just kind of dark in there. So if you find yourself in this part of the country, I mean, I would recommend visiting this place as long as you have the right expectations in mind for what it is. If you go in expecting crazy thrill rides, you're gonna walk away disappointed. But if you're looking for a quirky, strange experience that you can't really get anywhere else, then yeah, I mean, you're gonna love this place. And for the price that it is to get in here, you're not gonna break the bank, so I say go ahead and check it out. But those are just my thoughts on Enchanted Forest in Salem, Oregon. Let me know down in the comments below if you've been here, what you thought of it. If you're new to the channel, I'd love if you could subscribe. We do theme park reviews from places all across the world. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.